keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch the scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock, like I told you. I'm doing this for
dreams we pursuing, but call it a reality because there's no illusion. Thank you all for tuning back into the Anti-Media Radio Show. Once again with your host Nick Bernabe here on ucy.tv and the antimedia.org/radio. Really happy to be back. Alive and well on this Monday, January 29th. God, time is flying. It's already almost February. I can't believe it. A lot of stuff happening, and we're going to break it down. We are reunited tonight with our awesome co-host, Stevie Schwartz. What's up, dude?
Hey, man. I'm just getting real excited about the Super Bowl, seeing as I didn't watch a single game all season.
There you go. Don't tell me you're boycotting because of the kneeling thing.
It's really hard to enjoy a sport that you've played yourself at a fairly high level and then watch the team you grew up with move to LA. So, yeah, dude, there's zero loyalty in the league. The league's a piece of shit. It's ruined the sport, and I fucking hate the NFL. So there you go.
There you go. Well, you got the XFL coming up. What do you think about that?
Anything's an improvement, man. When you have a monopoly product and you have corporate basically pole smoking going on in every facet of the organization, there's no reason to keep it around, and the people that watch the NFL are turds, so there you go.
Yeah, so here's some interesting stuff that I find. So first, we found out, I think it was last year or the year before, we found out that the government was paying the NFL to push out this pro-patriotism kind of, parading the military at every game and then doing the whole national anthem thing. I didn't realize it because, they don't really show the national anthem. They didn't used to show the national anthem on TV. But I presume that the government funding part of the NFL was kind of an incentive for them to start showing that. And so I found that stuff interesting. The other interesting thing is, I think you were talking about the Chargers that were here in San Diego, which, of course, was our home team, and the fact that they left and they moved to L.A. Part of the reason they left, of course, there's other stuff going on behind the scenes, I'm sure, but part of the reason they left was because they put it up to vote to San Diego to see if taxpayers wanted to fund the creation of a new stadium for these guys, or at least partially fund it. And the taxpayers said no. The taxpayers said, why are we going to fund the stadium for these guys when these teams make a shitload of money? And the owners of these teams, most of these guys are if not multimillionaires, billionaires, you know what I'm saying? And so people were like, well, shit, I don't see why we should have to fund that stadium. They could build it on their own. And so the Chargers were like, all right, well, screw you guys. We're moving to L.A. So I find all that stuff very interesting. The way I see the NFL, it's kind of like this neo-gladiator type of thing where, like the Romans had their gladiators to serve as a distraction for the people. And, of course, we have our Super Bowl, we have our NFL, we have our sports, and the government benefits from having people engaged, super hyper engaged in sports and dealing with all that stuff rather than paying attention to, what they're actually up to, and the old saying, bread and circuses, and that's kind of what the NFL is. Now, here's what to me. Oh, go ahead. One
important thing, though, to remember is Pat Tillman and what he represented and the real surrounding facts of his death, which is he was shot in the back multiple times running up a hill. So, it was image repair, dude. You had a guy leave a $3 million a year contract, I think in 2004 or something, and go over and die almost immediately. And I think the NFL saw a huge credibility hit, and so did the military, and they decided they wanted to kind of make this marriage of convenience, and it's really backfired on them because NFL ratings are down and military recruitment is down because they thought those two things go hand in hand, and the truth is they really, really don't.
Tillman died from friendly fire, by the way.
Yeah, he was shot in the back, dude.
I don't know who that is, so I'm a little lost on it. Who is this guy?
Pat Tillman was a Pro Bowler for the Arizona Cardinals. Guy literally walked away from a huge contract to join, I think, the Green Beret after 9/11.
Oh, okay.
I think it took him a year to train and get over there, and he died pretty quick, and they covered it up because he got shot in the back.
Oh, damn.
And if you do any research about it, the real reason behind it is the guy was a hero, and there are no heroes. Guys in the Special Forces aren't trying to be heroes. They got missions to do, and this guy was a cowboy, and he was trying to make people play at his A-plus level, and people are just trying to get back to the States, do their tour of duty, kill some people, and come home.
So it was a PR stunt gone bad, basically.
Well, he was trying to be a real American hero, and that's not the real world.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing that I find really interesting, and it really kind of is a sign of the times, is that all the stuff I just said about how the NFL and the government have kind of formed this unholy alliance where the NFL is kind of pumping out this military propaganda, basically. They still do. And it was done super quietly. It only came out, like I said, it wasn't last year because now we're in 2018. I think it came out in 2016, might have come out in 2015. What I find interesting is how much this kneeling protest has just driven the narrative on the NFL for so long. I mean, to me, it's just like it's just a sign that the empire is losing its grip on its propaganda. The fact that these guys it got started by Colin Kaepernick, and then it went viral all across not only the NFL,
and the message got skewed, dude. Sorry to interrupt, dude, but I'm just so tired of people arguing in circles. It has nothing to do with the military. It's about police brutality, dude.
Yes.
And people just skew it and mess it up, and they've made it into it's a comic strip now, man. I mean, Kaepernick, for all of his good intentions, and it's not his fault, but they've used him. He's become a comedian for this. It's trivialized and marginalized. I mean, how many school shootings and how many people have police killed already? And we're just getting done with the first month. I think we're off to our bloodiest start ever. And it's not just guns, dude. It's our culture is sick.
Very true, man. Back to my point, though. I think that it's a sign of the times that the government's losing its grip on its propaganda. And, of course, the message has been skewed, like you said. Kaepernick started this thing for police brutality, and all of a sudden everyone's like, well, he's disrespecting the military, and he's blah, 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 which is a non-argument because, free speech is free speech, and these guys theoretically go out and die for your free speech. Of course, that hasn't been happening lately. Plenty of arguments can be made when the last time the military fought for our actual freedoms. But, they're not in Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever. They're not out there really genuinely fighting for our freedoms. I don't know what, plenty of things to speculate is what they're actually doing out there, but they're not fighting for your free speech back at home because when someone tries to flex the free speech when it's an unapproved or politically incorrect free speech, well, you see what happens. I mean, the political the PC police go across aisles. There's PC police on the right. There's PC police on the left. Free speech is under fire in this country, and the whole Kaepernick thing is a great example of how free speech is no longer respected. Speech.
And free speech is free thought, and if you don't have free thought, you're already a slave, and if you're a slave, there's no point to live.
Yeah, and it's so hypocritical because people love to talk about free speech, and people on the right are like, well, Milo Yiannopoulos deserves to have a platform because of free speech and blah 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 blah, and then they're like, Colin Kaepernick should be forced to stand up because people died for his right to be free in this country, and this kind of thing. And so there's this big gap between what people perceive as free speech and what free speech genuinely is. Free speech is basically people are supposed to be allowed to say whatever the fuck they want as long as it's not physically harming other people. It's a whole different thing if you're riling up a lynch mob, or if you're rounding up a militia to commit genocide and that kind of thing. Of course, there's a bunch of arguments to be made about the limits of free speech and hate speech and all that stuff. But the Kaepernick thing is so mild. I mean, it's a mild expression of speech. It's not even, in my opinion, it's not even controversial. It's like, oh, damn, a dude's kneeling down to draw attention to police brutality. Good for him. Hopefully it works. But the argument, like you said, has been skewed so far. Now it's about the military, and it's about free speech, and it's about patriotism, and it's about nationalism, and all this other crap. And the police killings continue on. The police killings keep going, unfortunately, and it's sad to see it. We're going to get into the Super Bowl stuff because a bunch of things happening, not football focused, but other things happening in where you're at, DB. First, I want to introduce our awesome co-host and journalist, Jake Anderson. What's up, dude?
Not much. It's DB. I didn't know that you. By the way, I think this is the first time we've all three been on a show in maybe a month or more.
This year, yeah, I think so.
But DB, I didn't know that you played football. It's interesting because I was a linebacker as well.
I wasn't a linebacker, but I played.
Jake, I can't. I was gonna say I don't believe that shit for 1 second, dude.
I was not a linebacker.
Well, I was gonna say, you could have played linebacker. Who knows? I don't know.
No, if I had taken steroids, I might have been able to play safety. No, not even.
I don't know. You know what? If you're fast, I could. That's more important than anything in football. Honestly, is speed. So. Oh,
I can't even jump on a trampoline without pinching a nerve in my back at this point. So.
Well, me too. But I mean, we were younger once.
Yes, we were young once.
This thing going on up here, dude, it's really great timing with the State of the Union tomorrow, and now with them saying they will release this memo, which I don't know if you guys want to get into it because they're all tied in, but it's interesting moving from SoCal, which I actually thought was going to be like the eye of the inferno, to here in the middle of the country, which actually looks like it's going to be the ground zero of what I think they're unrolling, which is National Guard and all the major population centers. I think they're probably stealth mode already over there, Nick, or maybe they just need to drive right out of Pendleton. I don't know if you've seen anything, Jake, but we have a garrison up here. I mean, enough to control our city, so I can definitely see a pop announcement coming up here before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we'll see it. I mean, honestly, I'm still going to have to see it to believe it in terms of any kind of mass arrests of anyone in the deep state, but anyone of substance or power at least. I certainly don't.
McCabe avoided it, but he'll still probably go down. We'll see.
Yeah, I think some low-level FBI people could go down, but
he's not low-level, and Comey's going to pay for it, I'm sure.
Yeah, they could fall, but in terms of anything foundation-shaking indictments, I literally think there's like a 0% chance of any ex-presidents being even people who ran for president being.
Not if the FISA turns out to be ordered by Obama, then he's going to actually go down for treason because you're not allowed to spy on the sitting president when you're an ex. So just because he had all his cronies and lackeys inside the security apparatus doesn't mean he can issue orders when he's.
Well, no, I don't disagree.
I mean, that alone is like a reverse Watergate. I've never heard of that before. It's never happened before because the deep state hasn't lost in 50 years. So, think about what you want about Trump, but Trump's just the military, and I know people are going to have a really hard time understanding what's happening right now. But the bankers lost. They lost the U.S. And once the U.S. fell, a whole domino effect came behind it. So we'll truly know the world's different if China undergoes changes. They're the driver of the world economy now. So we have to see what happens.
We'll see what goes down. I think there's more cross-pollination between these various factions than we would like.
Well, they're cousins, but they're still competitors, and they still could hate each other. Just because they're dividing the world up in secret and changing the pie pieces doesn't mean they don't like each other. And it doesn't mean they don't want to eliminate each other, too. I mean, that seems obvious to me.
Yeah, I just, the way I see it, I haven't looked too much into this stuff because it's become such a spectacle, but it just seems like the major hits that are going to come out from the whole Russiagate thing have already been put out there. I mean, the whole, they bought $100,000 worth of Facebook ads. They ran a couple accounts on Twitter. I mean, everyone got that email, I'm sure, that, you may have been influenced by Russians over the election and stuff. I think these are the big hits. I think that Trump and the quote unquote deep state, they've generally made their peace, and there may still be some minor disagreements and stuff or on superficial stuff, but Trump is touchable. Let's put it that way. I mean, Trump's already in the pocket. He put he elevated many players from within the deep state already into his administration. Most notably, the guy from Goldman Sachs that's now Treasury Secretary. These are some of the most key roles. Treasury Secretary is a major role. They put a guy from Goldman Sachs up in there. And that's all you really need to know. You know what I'm saying? Sure, the Trump may be the general's guy that is doing the bidding of the military, but the bankers also have their guys up there too. Plenty of Goldman Sachs people in the Trump administration. In fact, that dude, God, what's his name? I have to pull up his name. He used to work for Soros too, and now he's running the finance for the country, and Trump put him there. These guys made their peace. I think. I don't think we're going to see any shattering things. I think what we're going to see is like, oh well, there was some superficial tampering with social media. I don't think we're going to see any major hacking of the election. Maybe they'll try to pin a little bit of what WikiLeaks got.
I think we know deep down like some major shit happened, but I think we also know, at least all three of us and most people listening, that the American public, they can't take it. I came home, I talked to friends when I came back to visit Nick, and I kid you not, you're probably the only person that actually has any idea what's going on out of dozens of people that I talked to and said hi to. I mean, everybody there is head in the sand. So I don't think the American public can take it. I don't think they can take revelations of what's really going on, but I think the small percentage in the know that the behind-the-scenes shit going on right now is probably pretty crazy.
Yeah, I honestly, what I think is happening now is just the people are just moving their pieces around the board, and as you said, man, look, anyone in the know right now knows that China is, in the next couple of decades, is going to be the most dominant financial driver of the world's economy. There's no going back from globalist, global capitalism and all that stuff. And look, things happen in cycles, and there's no changing that. Nature just works that way. And empires, look at every empire that's ever existed. They rise, they fall, or they rise, they stagnate, they fall, they collapse, they break into pieces, they get rebuilt. What's happening in the U.S. isn't remarkable. What's happening here with the downward trend of the dollar, with the rise of China, with the losing of our ability to project influence around the world, it's not really remarkable. I mean, it's been done over and over again throughout history, and it just, it's just something that happens. And the one thing that remains basically the same is the guys with the money see the shit coming and they make their move, And so the way I see it is the guys with the money are hedging their bets against the United States right now, and they're going to make their move to China, over the next 20 years, and they're doing it right now. In fact, did you guys see that story today? You know that big bug that they found in the processors, the Intel processors, affected basically like most people's computers. Those guys, Intel alerted Chinese state-run companies before they alerted the U.S. government. That tells you something big. That tells you, what these guys that are really running the show know. They have a priority. They prioritize China over the United States already, and the big shift really hasn't. We haven't felt it yet. It's already in the making, but we haven't felt it yet. But people like Intel, the guys that make the chips that are in a bunch of people's computers, they already know. So they said, you know what? Fuck, we found this huge flaw in our security of our chips. Let's go ahead and tell these Chinese companies first. Yeah,
dude, they put it in, man. These guys are all treasonous bastards. They'll sell out for anything, dude. So they put in a backdoor so later they can sell it.
I wouldn't doubt that. I seriously wouldn't doubt that. So, DB, I don't know how much you know about what's going on out there with the Super Bowl, but I've been seeing a bunch of pictures and a bunch of reports from the ground talking about just massive deployment of National Guard out there. It almost looks like, I don't want to overstep here and say it looks like martial law, but it's really starting to look like that. What's going on out there, dude?
I'll see if I can angle on my phone tomorrow to take a video, and I'll go through downtown because I want to see it for myself. So my commute this morning cut through downtown instead of going on the 94, which kind of skirts around it. And it ends up being quicker almost every day, so I take it usually. But today it was a lot slower, about 15 minutes. And they had a couple Humvee checkpoints at the major intersection. So they're definitely going to lock. They're going to lock it down for sure. And that's going to be an expensive Uber and Lyft day with that kind of traffic for people. But yeah, they had some good old guys from the National Guard waving people through. A lot of them are looking like they're pretty bored, so I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. If something comes about that they think will make people trip out in the public, again, I don't know what it could be, but it could be anything. And they're all set up, man. They have some pretty interesting, those solar array things on top of the Humvees. It's not like they have 50 cals, but those the sonar array things are crowd control. So we joked years ago about, remember the brown noise things? So they're actually even worse. They make you feel like you're burning, although nothing's going on in your body. They're just, I guess they're microwaving you. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, at least it'll keep you warm, right?
Yeah, so, no rioting. No rioting by Eagle fans.
Here's an interesting kind of coincidence. I was when I was down in Houston visiting with Derek Bros and the Houston Freethinkers and them a few months back. It was during the World Series. They were playing in Houston, and I basically didn't notice very much security at all down in Texas, in Houston, with the with the World Series. And so I find it pretty interesting that they've got a huge deployment of National Guard and just massive measures going up. I just saw another one today where they're using helicopters for surveillance, aerial surveillance and stuff up there for the Super Bowl as well. It makes me think maybe they've got some kind of threat that they're trying to mitigate against or something. Because, again, when I was in Houston, I went down right next to the stadium to go eat lunch because, I was trying to get some Texas barbecue while I was in town, and that was the only one with, good ratings. So I went down there, and I'm telling you, I just walked right in. No cops, no checkpoints, no very, very little security. There was traffic, but it wasn't really a big deal. Anybody could walk right up to the stadium, and there was only one layer of security at the gate around the stadium. And that was it. So makes me think maybe they're acting on some kind of threat that they received. What do you think?
I mean, it could easily be up here. One of the things that you'll notice is the ramping up of certain things that they're kind of bringing into the news up here, local news. There was a guy who just got a 15-year sentence for stabbing random people in a dressing room at Mall of America. I think he was like a 22-year-old Somali guy, and he said during the trial he was inspired by ISIS. People will never be at peace as long as we're at war with Islam. And I kid you not that a mentality changes when those kind of things are pushed to the forefront nonstop by the media right before, and then you see all this security. And we're talking about massive gun ownership up here. It's not for protection. It's armaments that people own regularly in the city, all around us, all the time. And you're kind of considered a little bit of a wuss if you don't even have a shotgun here. So I don't know what they're trying to set up here, except maybe some kind of a litmus test, and we'll see how we do.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Of course, I'm going to be watching the show right, with the family and stuff, watching the Super Bowl and all that good stuff. Hopefully nothing bad happens out there. And it's always interesting when they roll out the National Guard and bring out this big militarized presence. And it seems like the National Guard is really that loophole around the Posse Comitatus Act or whatever. So we're gonna see how it goes. And
climate plays a big role up here too. You wouldn't know this without living up here and talking to people, but St. Paul and Minneapolis are basically, they receive power through the Mississippi, which is the Minnesota up here. So it's the downtowns have a hydroelectric plants, and they don't really go offline. And we have an endless supply of water, but it needs to be pumped. And it's just an interesting area to have huge mainframes. So because of the cold climate up here, it's really cheap to keep processors super cool. So it's a hub up here, and I'm curious what's going to happen here with all the timing.
Well, hopefully nothing bad. Dude. Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm rooting against Tom Brady. Who isn't, right? Everyone's going against Tom Brady. I'm not an Eagles fan or anything, but yeah, enough about football. Enough about football for now.
I think we can all agree that we just want to see a lot of injuries.
Hopefully not, right? What else? What else we got going on, dude? All right, so Wednesday we're going to be, I don't want to call it a fundraising show, but we're going to be launching our Patreon tomorrow for the Anti-Media. Basically, here's a breakdown. We talked about it a little bit in the last couple shows. Facebook is basically screwing publishers, especially independent publishers like us. And, we were built on top of the framework of Facebook. The Anti-Media was born out of a stupid meme that I made that went viral the same day that I made the page. I just happened to get lucky, made a good meme. And I don't know, the name I guess it was a name that stuck. People liked the name, and we started getting a bunch of followers. And I built this news organization on top of Facebook, and it took advantage of all the people being on Facebook. Not took advantage, but capitalized on the fact that everybody was on Facebook, and I was able to create this news organization. But now that's all changing because Facebook recently said, hey, we're taking publishers out of the news feed, especially independent publishers. And they put out this big survey where they said, well, we're going to see if we'll put a survey out and see if you're a trusted news organization, how widely known you are, basically. So basically what they're saying is, if you're a mainstream news organization that everybody knows about, and if generally people say they trust you, they're going to show you a lot more in the news feed. And anyone that doesn't fit that criteria, they're removing you out of the news feed. I doubt that the Anti-Media fits the criteria of a widely known, widely trusted news organization. I know our fans trust us. I know our followers trust us. I mean, we have 2 million followers. I mean, people that know the Washington Post, these are hundreds of millions of people that know about the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN. Of course, many of them view them untrustworthy, but I don't know how this algorithm is going to play out. But I'll tell you what, we've already seen a plunge in traffic starting as of like a couple weeks ago, the algorithm changes started going into effect, and it's been ugly. It's been really ugly, and to the point where we've, as of this coming month, I've announced to our staff that we're cutting back on many of our operations because I don't want to get through next month and then not be able to pay everybody. So I'm just telling everybody right now, hey, we're going to have to cut back. There's going to be pay cuts. There's going to be less work. Now, that all changes if we get support from our readers and our listeners and all that stuff. The Patreon account will be up tomorrow. We're going to talk about a lot more on Wednesday. If we get the support, not only can we continue operations, but there's a good chance if we get a lot of support, we could actually expand our operations. This is something that I should have been doing a long time ago, but I guess I'll take the blame on this. I got complacent because I thought Facebook, I ignorantly thought Facebook was just going to be this endless gravy train, and if we put in the work and build up the followers and make the good memes and all that stuff, we're going to keep, the audience will keep showing up. I think that was a very dumb move on my part, but it's never too late to start changing, and that's what we're doing, is reducing our reliance on Facebook. And of course, Facebook has developed a pretty bad reputation, whether it's through censorship, being a gatekeeper, showing bias, all these other things that Facebook has taken the rap for recently. They're all pretty much true. I don't blame Facebook for the fake news thing. I blame people just not fact-checking and people just sharing shit that they agree with and saying shit they don't agree with is fake or whatever. But anyway, we're launching a Patreon, and our other thing that we're going to be doing is we're setting up a Steemit account, and we're going to be posting articles. Some content we're going to be posting exclusively on Steemit. I'm in a dialogue right now with some of the guys at Steemit to see if we can forge some kind of partnership or something where we publish a lot of content over there. We'll still bring the content over to Facebook. If you don't want to get off Facebook, that's fine. We'll still post it there. But you may not see it, and that's the problem. And we post stuff on Facebook. If you're just scrolling through the news feed, you may not see that stuff anymore. In fact, you probably won't. And that's a big problem for us because that's where we got most of our traffic, and that traffic is what pays our bills because we have ads, and we never really asked for too many donations and stuff before, but it's something that we have to either get direct support or we reduce our operations significantly, and so hopefully some people will step up. I know everybody's broke, but $1 goes a long way every month. $5 goes a really long way, and if you can do more, that's fucking awesome. And maybe some of the guys who started investing in crypto when we first started talking about it will be listening tonight, and maybe they can help us out. I don't know, we'll see. But that's what we're going to be talking about on Wednesday. I was planning on doing it today, but because of some delays in development of our Patreon pitch or whatever, we're going to be posting it tomorrow. So we'll talk about that when it comes. If you can't afford to support us, don't feel bad. Just keep sharing our stuff. And if you're not seeing our shit in your feed, go directly to our website. We still need more people submitting articles in the My News section. We still need more people uploading and downloading articles that they think are important so that we can know what you guys are into, and also so that people visit the homepage can find the more important stuff first. So there's always that, and just sharing our stuff too on social media, wherever you have accounts. That stuff goes a long way too. We don't necessarily need your money if you just support us as well in sharing, visiting the site, uploading, downloading, submitting articles. That's just as good. It's just as good. But the fact of the matter is we need money to operate, pay everyone. We've got some of the most brilliant people on our team. Jake is like ridiculous good with the technology stuff. Carrie is so analytical. We've got Derek Bros, and we got a bunch of great people on the team, but they all have to pay rent. They all have to eat food. Obviously, I wish we could just do this stuff for free, but that's just not how it works.
We all have to buy a new diamond every month.
Yes, that too.
Maybe time to do or go to video platforms so we can actually run an ad or have affiliates, because I see a lot of really crappy ass news shows out there. My number one is, of course, the Young Turds. I hate them, but I mean, some of these channels are getting big and they offer nothing, and they're making enough in advertising, more than enough. So it's probably time to go to new media, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. We've been playing with the idea of video. We've done a little bit with it here and there. Now the problem is, of course, Facebook is doing the same thing YouTube is doing the same thing that Facebook has been doing, where they're demonetizing people, they're banning people for having controversial views. Facebook up until recently was basically just stealing everybody's content. They were never paying anyone. At least YouTube would be paying people for the content they make. You can monetize your videos, and you can make a little something for dedicated. It takes a long fucking time to make videos and put yourself out there like that. Facebook hasn't paid anybody any money up until recently for all the content they've been making. People have been making millions of videos, putting them on Facebook, giving Facebook a bunch of value because everyone's watching their videos. Facebook never shared that with anybody. They're greedy as hell, dude. They're greedy as hell.
It's funny that they just rolled out that monetization platform on Facebook, like literally less than a year ago, right? And now they're essentially scrapping the whole thing because Hillary Clinton lost the election. That's it.
Well, they realize they have literally no. I mean, Operation Mockingbird has failed as of this last election. It just doesn't work anymore. So all these things now are just going to become endless mouthpieces of the same 5 posts that are trying to just do the final brainwash on the idiots that still use these platforms. It's like, man, it's just time to jump ship.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about it so much, and in fact, I even announced earlier today I was basically going to boycott Facebook, which of course is unrealistic because I have to use it for some things, but it just makes me sick how absurd it is. I mean, it's like what kind of innovator, what kind of entrepreneur makes this world-changing technology and then gets a spanking by the government and goes, okay, I'll completely change it just for you, government. You didn't see the creator of electricity doing that. I mean, obviously this is a new, social media is a very new phenomenon. But I mean, it would be like if the cavemen who created fire, only let the ruling cavemen use the fire and no one else got to use it, or if only certain elites got to use the printing press when the printing press came out. I mean, this new algorithmic censorship is so dangerous and terrifying. With Google and Facebook both teaming up to do it, both now creating proprietary homegrown propaganda to, derail any kind of, radical thought. I mean, it's so Orwellian. I mean, it's like more Orwellian than Orwell. At least with Orwell, it was just a state. It wasn't, actual, it wasn't the actual, free market going along with it, being complicit in it. I mean, this is just creepy, man.
Yeah, dude. It's I guess what you would call post-Orwellianism, right? Where you got to the point now where it's kind of brilliant if you look at it from a social control aspect. It's like, okay, the government's inefficient, the government's bureaucratic, they're not very good at many things. And that's exactly why I am skeptical of many, when everyone wants to jump to all these conspiracy conclusions about everything. I'm skeptical because the government is inept as fuck and it can barely wipe its own ass without charging itself $10 million for a roll of toilet paper, right? But it's kind of brilliant what they've done, not in a good way, in a bad way, where they've privatized a lot of the roles that the government used to fill when it comes to censorship, when it comes to propaganda, when it comes to controlling people, controlling narratives, fear-mongering, and that kind of stuff. All that stuff has been semi-privatized. I mean, the government spreads the fear-mongering, the social media platforms and the internet gatekeepers control the flow of information. Now they're literally producing their own propaganda. we just found out, and we talked about this in our last show with the counter speech initiative by Google, Facebook, and Twitter. And then, of course, the surveillance. We had the Patriot Act, which was we found out through Snowden was very ineffective because they were trying to surveil everyone, and therefore they could never catch anybody because they just had too much data. And now they've relegated that role over to Facebook and Google and these social media platforms where everybody uses. And now these guys are doing the surveillance for the government, and they're much more effective at it because they monetized it. They monetize it and they sell the data to advertisers, and then whenever they see something suspicious, they
or they put it on your Fitbit, Nick.
Yeah, and then they just hand it over to the government whenever the government asks for it. And I'm sure that they proactively search out for these radical people, anyone saying stuff that may be slightly dangerous, and they say, hey, San Diego PD, we have this guy that's been talking this crazy stuff on Facebook, and you may want to know about this guy. And so they've kind of privatized all that stuff. So it is brilliant in that way. You got this kind of corporate status mutual relationship where they rub each other's backs, and the government kind of acknowledges where it's inefficient, and these giant corporations pick up the slack where the government lacks, and it's kind of this perfect control grid that they're building up. And it's like I said, post-Orwellian. It's a very scary situation, and something to be concerned about. And that's why it's time to decentralize ourselves off of these major platforms. And yeah, we'll still be posting on Facebook, but I think we're going to be spending more resources investing in Steemit and other platforms that are less fertile breeding grounds for governments. MeWe,
WeChat, Gab, and what's Twitter's splitting into Gab and another one, right? It's like all these alternatives now are starting to look mighty good, even if they are clunky. And if they do it right and just sell legitimate advertising from good companies, not crappy-ass multinationals, they'll do just fine.
Isn't Gab pretty right-wing, though?
Yeah, but there's another one, too. There's a right wing and a left wing. And I don't really care what it is as long as it's free speech. Stupid opinions and ideas are going to get down-filtered already, just like on all the chans, so...
Yeah, hopefully anyway. Yeah, and I see it. That's what I kind of see happening. I was under this impression that there was going to be this obvious alternative to Facebook one day. I mean, I knew it would happen eventually. Kind of like how MySpace died off and Facebook took its place. I don't see that happening again because I think people now are like, you know what? Like, maybe it's not so good to concentrate all of our human resources in one platform. Maybe it's just coincidence. Maybe it's people wising up. I don't know. But it definitely seems like there's going to be a splintering of people that just filter out into a bunch of different niche platforms. Like, there's going to be people that spend more time on Twitter. There's going to be people like us who spend more time on Steemit. There's going to be people going on, right-wing people going to Gab. There's going to be people going on Minds.com. There's going to be people that stick around and stay on Facebook. There's going to be people that go back to MySpace. I think there's going to be a splintering off of a bunch of people going in different directions. And as much of a pain in the ass it is going to be for me as a publisher trying to reach all these different people on all these different platforms, which means I have to somehow be able to have the resources to put content on each one of these platforms, Snapchat and all the other ones. It's going to be better for the state of the internet, a more decentralized internet, less of everybody relying strictly on Facebook and on Google. And I've been seeing a lot more traffic coming in from DuckDuckGo.com, which is a search engine that is less invasive. And there's a bunch of alternatives coming up like this that people are more inclined to start using because they're sick and tired of all the censorship. They're tired of the websites they like getting pushed down into the second, below the fold or into the second page of the search results. And so people are making those moves little by little, but sooner or later those little movements become an avalanche, and all of a sudden you're going to start seeing, oh shit, a bunch of people are getting off Facebook. I'm personally already starting to see it. A bunch of people are starting to get off Facebook. Jake just announced it today that he's pretty much moving off of Facebook.
I was already off the boat anyway because I can't stand the discourse on there anymore. But this was the final call for me. I mean, Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
The best thing we can all do on our way out is just spread the hell out of a bunch of crap that'll get us banned to all the pages that we're running and just go out in a giant blaze of glory.
There you go. And again, you can't trust these social networks to show the content you want to see. So if you really like the anti-media, you got to go to our website and actually visit our site and look at the stuff we're posting, read the stuff we're posting. Sign up for the newsletter. I know getting emails I know you get so many fucking emails that it's a pain in the ass, but if you really want to see the stuff we're posting, sign up for the newsletter. That's how you get our stuff.
What about doing what Current Affairs did and going old school with some print action?
Yeah, too costly.
Well, as long as you get the pre-orders, you can print cheap now on demand.
And I think there's been a resurgence in print recently, but I mean that's another point is that remember that things can be splintered almost overnight with the emergence of new technology. Right now, the internet and social media is kind of the cutting edge of information technology, at least on the masses. But, in the next 2 decades, we know there's going to be new developments, new innovations, things like virtual reality, augmented reality. There's going to be all kinds of new ways that people spread messages. And something like Facebook could be dismantled in a very short period of time just by the introduction of a new technology. Zuckerberg is trying to stay ahead of the curve on that. I mean, he's way ahead of the game on virtual reality and research on that kind of thing, artificial intelligence, because he knows all it takes is one new disruptive technology to completely blow Facebook out of the water right now. Because people are sick as hell of Facebook. The only reason it still has predominance is because there's just nothing that's been able to rival it as a social media network.
Yeah, and part of Zuckerberg's brilliance is his ability to be like the Borg and just assimilate anyone that competes against him. And that's exactly why he bought the Oculus Rift company. It was one of the early pioneers in virtual reality, and they've got their little headset and all that stuff. And of course, it seems like there was a huge push for VR with the headsets and all that, and it seems like it kind of sputtered out a little bit because they're just so clunky, and they're just, you look kind of stupid walking around with the fucking VR headset. I don't know how else to put it.
They haven't figured out how to integrate it yet into. I mean, as soon as people start, as soon as it becomes socially acceptable to put a chip in your head, virtual reality is going to take over, because that's when it won't be so cumbersome.
Yeah, once they can integrate it into what are those called? The contacts that you put in your eye.
Right.
Once they can integrate it into something like that, then it's going to change. That's going to change everything. But as long as you're still sticking your huge ass phone inside of your fucking headset and trying to walk around like that, and people are going to laugh at you. And it's not going to take off that way. I mean, right now it's just big clunky. It's like having one of those huge brick phones that people used to walk around with. It's like, dude, okay, you got a phone, we get it, but it's like the size of a damn brick. But now that the technology has matured a bit, everyone's got a smartphone, and that's how this VR stuff's gonna progress. Once they make it look like sunglasses or they make it look like eye contacts, then everyone's gonna start having it. But Facebook is part of the brilliance of Zuckerberg and Facebook, and again, not in a good way. Is that they know what people are thinking, they know what they're talking about, because they read all of your fucking messages and the shit. They listen to your fucking conversations that you're talking about in person, verbally with people. I know everybody out there has had conversations and they look on their phone an hour later and it's like, oh, I was just talking about that. That's weird. Yeah, because they're listening to you. Facebook knows where the trends are going, and what they do is they see them and then they just buy the companies that are when the trend's going a certain direction, they just buy those companies. That's what they did with Instagram. They saw, Instagram's, a bunch of people are shifting from Facebook to Instagram, all the young people. It's like, okay, well, we're going to buy Instagram. And they did. And then they saw, oh, damn, young people are also liking this video platform called Snapchat. And so Facebook, well, we're going to buy Snapchat. Now, Snapchat refused to sell to to Facebook, and so Facebook just cloned all their products and put it on Snap. They put it on Instagram. They put it on Facebook. They put it on Messenger. I'm sure they're going to put it on WhatsApp as well sooner or later. Facebook also owns WhatsApp, which is one of the most widely used messaging platforms throughout the world. Mostly not used as much in the U.S., but South America, Asia, a bunch of other places around the world use WhatsApp. Facebook saw that coming. They bought that. So that's part of what Facebook does. They're not so good at innovating with the company Facebook, the actual platform Facebook.com, but they just buy all the people. They know what you're thinking. They know what you're talking about. It's the largest social media network, so they know what everyone's thinking, and they just buy the companies that people are talking about. And now, yesterday I started noticing they're marking many Steemit posts, they're marking as spam. So anyone trying to compete, they're also marking Minds.com links as spam. So I think those companies are probably out of reach for Facebook because they're so ideologically opposed. I don't think the people at Minds.com would sell to Facebook. I don't think Steemit, I don't even know if Steemit could be bought because I don't think it's really a company as much as it is a decentralized blockchain platform. But now Facebook's just marking them as spam to prevent the spread of these wildfires. They're trying to put them out where they find them. And these companies, Minds and Steemit, much smaller than Facebook, but, Facebook knows that they're starting to come up and they're starting to compete. So they say, all right, put the clamp down. Don't let them spread the links. And that's the strength of Facebook is their data. They have so much data and they're so efficient at analyzing it. They've deployed artificial intelligence because human eyes can't deal with so much data. They got artificial intelligence analyzing the data, feeding these dudes that run Facebook, feeding them the ideas like, hey, I'm sure they had AI telling them, hey, dude, you guys need to buy Instagram because people are starting to use this shit out of Instagram. And so Zuckerberg's like, well, my artificial intelligence told me to buy Instagram, so we're going to go ahead and buy Instagram. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure they're at that point. DB, go ahead, dude.
Oh, I was just going to say it's just text they're trying to acquire. So what we need to be cognizant of is that everything that's going on as far as the conglomeration of all these companies is just it couldn't even be more apparent now with Disney, which is ABC, buying Fox. So now there's ABC, Fox, Disney, and MSM, NBC, whatever the hell, and what else? CBS and there's one other, isn't there? There's like four now. There's only like four media companies now. And it's just all fake opposition. All of it's fake opposition. So
yeah, Time Warner.
They just swallow up every time there's something good that comes about. Of course you're going to sell out if you're getting 30, 40, 50 million bucks. Who the hell wouldn't? And the crazy thing is a lot of the times these guys that sell out go on to make a superior product that I'm using right now, which is Brave Browser. One of the original designers of Mozilla, they sold out to Soros because all of them got multi-millions and now they're making better products that are safer and more secure because they're rich. So it can become a good thing in that way too. But, the main thing is to break up these monopolies like Facebook and like Amazon. They're not good or healthy for society, and they would make society better if they were broken up. And then there were four Bezoses that were all competing. Imagine four androids competing against each other. How amazing.
Oh, man. Yeah.
There's no way to break up the monopolies without government regulation, though.
Just create three more Bezoses, dude. That's all you need to do.
Well, as we've talked about many times, strong artificial intelligence is going to change the game pretty dramatically.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
just make Amazon and give it to Sophia. There's the competitor.
And so, Jake, what do you think, dude? I mean, do you think that Zuckerberg is already relying on AI to help him make major decisions like purchasing companies, buyouts, following trends, and that kind of shit? What do you think?
Oh, he's definitely using it at least as an opinion, as a voice at the table for sure. And that's only going to get more so. I mean, they have AI creating AI at this point, self-recursive technology. I mean, Facebook has enormous power, and God knows what's going on in that Building 8, where they're doing, it's basically the DARPA of the free market over there at Building 8. And they got brain interface technology going on over there. Some of the most brilliant minds in the world they have, throwing everything at the wall. I mean, there's probably nothing else. Obviously, nothing in the free market compares to the kind of research that's going on in the government with DARPA. But Facebook would be about the closest thing you can get to it. Facebook and Google probably. And he's definitely using artificial intelligence. That's not even to make decisions. I mean, I doubt he has like a little mainframe that's sitting there that's telling him exactly what to do, but he's definitely using it as a voice at the table.
Yeah, I think so too. Another question for you, Jake. How long before there's a AI CEO of a company?
Good question. I mean, I think if it were simply a matter of sentience, cognition, and ability, I think it would be within a decade. But because I think there's going to be so much cultural, social stigma around it, I think it'll probably be a couple decades before it's a CEO. Just because I don't see. You would have to have an enormously powerful company that would even have designed a proprietary artificial intelligence that they would feel comfortable enough handing over the reins of a company to, and a company that powerful is going to be controlled by a very powerful human CEO who I don't see relinquishing that power. But I think within a few decades we're going to be seeing, sentient AIs taking part in the free market, and it's just there's no way to predict how that's going to go. It's just that'll be a complete Wild West, situation. But
so you don't think that Amazon's run by a Westworld android?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's a crazy world. I wouldn't put anything past anything at this point as to what's really going on in the world. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if there's an AI running a country somewhere. But there's a difference between what's going on and what's being publicly disclosed. I don't think there'll be public disclosure of an AI running a company or a government for a while. Just because.
Jake, in your opinion, what country is the most advanced? Who's ahead the most in AI right now?
I think right now, China, Russia, and USA are right at, in this close race.
Japan?
I mean, Japan's up there too. I mean, it's AI is very much in terms of national research is very much turned into a very militaristic enterprise at this point. And so I think just because of the power of the militaries in those respective countries, although I know Japan has a big military too. I mean, if you go by the numbers and you go by the experts, China, Russia, and U.S. are basically in an arms race with AI. I mean, by all accounts, Russia and China are starting to pull away in that front. So,
I read that because they took a different approach that was non-military, that they're actually already in charge, and that's Japan, but it's strictly economic AI.
That'd be very interesting. I'll have to look into that. That's a cool idea. It would like
they don't need a military because we'll do whatever they tell us to do.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to find out that major decisions are being made by AI in certain countries.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back Wednesday. You guys will probably be back tomorrow night, and we'll be talking about Patreon Wednesday night. Peace out, everyone.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.